the leadership principles of inbound is number one, treat people like human beings.
Never before has it been so easy for me to say, here's exactly not just what we do, but who we do it for.
The freemium model, all your listeners, make sure you have something free that you can give away because people love free stuff. I've never met somebody who said, no, I don't like free stuff, right? So at the end of my presentations and at the end of this podcast, I'll give away some free stuff.
On episode 333 of the podcast, you will learn about the importance of human-centered communication in business and how it can help your company grow and thrive. You'll also discover the power of niche marketing and how focusing on a specific industry or area of expertise can help you stand out and grow your business faster. And you'll also find out about the HubSpot Flywheel and how putting your customers first can be super effective for finding new business. What is up, my friend? I am Ryan Coral from Studio Sherpas, and this is the Grow Your Video Business podcast, the show that is for corporate and commercial filmmakers, as well as my mom, if she wants to listen, where we talk about the business of video production. And if you are looking for a community of like-minded filmmakers and you want to elevate your work and your business without sacrificing your soul, I want to invite you to watch my 6-figure filmmaking workshop where I share the summarization of the last 18 years that I've spent in this industry, and I cover some of the mistakes that I've made and some of my top takeaways that can help you make less mistakes than I did and help you getting to a place where you're earning what you want and building a sustainable business. You can get access to this workshop for free if you go to studiosherpas.com/workshop. In the workshop, I'm gonna cover some key strategies and techniques that have helped me and countless others transform our businesses to attract high-paying clients and maintain a balanced lifestyle. The workshop is accessible at studiosherpas.com/workshop. Again, it's completely free as my gift to you. Check it out, and let's jump into today's episode. What's up, friends? Hey, welcome to another episode of the show. Today, I have with me Dan Tyre, who was employee number 6 at HubSpot, which I just think is fascinating. He's an angel investor. He's got this amazing mentor program. The dude has, I want to have as much energy as you do, Dan, when I'm as old as you. Like, what are you, like 50, 49?
Hold on. Back that up. Back that up, Ryan. What do you mean as old as I am?
Wait,
right?
I mean,
come on.
Are you almost 50? I mean, you're have you celebrated 50
There
yet?
you go.
Okay,
good recovery.
Yeah.
Wise and experience is what they say. We're going to have a great time. Oh, my goodness. We've already gone off-road. We're 2 minutes in.
That's right. Yeah.
We're going down
what is happening?
Yeah.
So,
who is this guy?
Dan, I learned of you first from the book Human-Centered...
Communications.
Yes, human-centered communication.
Human-centered communication.
I feel like my business has been able to grow and thrive because of the importance I've put on that. Social media, all of these things that can be distractions can be done in a way that isn't centered on people and caring for people and try to serve people. I'm just so glad that I sort of stumbled into business and found out that I'm naturally sort of like drawn to really trying to connect, and I think that has been a difference maker. So the fact that you're part of that program and the work that you're doing, being involved at HubSpot, I just have so much respect for that company. I remember when we launched our corporate brand, I joined up with HubSpot, and it really helped me get a perspective of like how to create content that is helpful for people, and they've just got such an incredible mission for people like us to add value. So share just, I mean, to be number 6 at HubSpot, that's amazing. So let's just start there. How did that even happen?
Yeah. All right. So we should start off with the fact that I'm the luckiest guy in the world, right?
Which I thought I was.
am.
Okay.
Well, maybe in the top 10, but like amazing, right? A 42-year entrepreneurial career, 5 startups, right? Worked my way through college, Colgate University, 1980. My first startup went to $1 billion. Right? It's actually a pretty funny story. My boss, Roger, I worked for a computer reseller. What was the first computer that you got, Ryan?
Commodore 64 128.
What year?
I think it was 1984 or 85, somewhere around there.
Awesome. Yeah, that's early. And in those days, you went to a computer reseller, a computer retail store like Best Buy. Like a guy in a little collared shirt would come over and you'd plunk down 18 grand for an IBM XD or an Apple IIe, right?
Yeah.
And I was living in Boston and I needed a job. So I decided, well, I had sold books door to door to work my way through college. Maybe I could sell computers. Never took a computer course. And I was the number one salesperson for this company called The Computer Store. My boss was this guy, Roger. He was a great guy. He was a band leader. He was a good dad. He was a good father. And he walked in like one day and he's like, I'm quitting. And I'm like, why? He's like, I'm going to a startup. I'm like, what's a startup? He goes, it's a small company that's going to grow quickly. I'm like, all right, well, knock yourself out. He's like, no, I want to bring you with me. I'm like, I already got a job. He's like, I'll give you $100 more a month. I'm like, yeah, I'm a startup guy. So, right? Luckiest guy in the world. That motion right there changed my entire life because the company was called Businessland, right? Started in 1982. It was when I joined $2 million, right? In 9 years, it went to $1.4 billion when $1 billion was really like $1 billion. Yeah. And I worked in Boston. I worked in Framingham. I worked in LA. I worked in San Francisco. I worked in New York in the tri-state area. And I was their turnaround expert for HubSpot. Right. And I got promoted every year and it was amazing. And I fell in love with what we call hyper growth, growing businesses very quickly. And it was amazing. Dave Norman and Enzo Teresi were the founders. I worked with Murray Dennis, who was brilliant, AJ McMillan, who was an incredible sales motivator. All of these amazing folks. And I'm like, wow, this startup thing is kind of cool. So I quit after 9 years and I started my own company, CEO and founder of a company called Automated Labor Incorporated. And if you saw a brand, Automated Labor, what do you think that company did?
Like robots or something?
Exactly. That's what everybody said. Are you a robotics company? Are you a temporary firm? It was the worst named company in the history of American business, right? And I named it, right? I got so friggin' tired of kind of explaining, no, we're a collaboration software company, that after a year, I shortened it from Automated Labor to ALI Technologies because I had to explain it all the time.
Yeah.
And ALI was a collaboration software company, training company, software development company. And we grew it from zero to $30 million over 9 years. And I sold it to a Phoenix-based company. That's how I got to Paradise Valley, Arizona. And it was amazing. Right. And then I ran their training division quite successfully for a couple of years. My fourth startup got bought out by Microsoft. Lucky me. And then my boss at my fourth startup, which was Groove Networks, was this guy, Brian Halligan. And when Microsoft bought Groove, by the way, it was a company run by Ray Ozzie. Have you ever heard that name?
I have not.
Ray is a great developer. He developed a product called Lotus Notes, and then he developed Groove, which is a collaboration product that was in pretty widespread use. And Microsoft acquired it because they wanted Ray to take over Bill Gates' job, right, as chief software architect for Microsoft, which is kind of amazing. And Ray is a great entrepreneur. He's a great guy. And so when Microsoft took over Groove, I worked for Microsoft for 6 or 9 months. And Brian went to MIT. He met Dharmesh. And then in 2006, he called me up. And I'm like, Brian, what are you doing? He's like, I'm starting a new company. I'm like, okay. And he's like, and I want you to join. I'm like, why do you want me to join? He's like, you're a good startup guy. Which is true. I am a good startup guy. And he's like, you got all this energy. And I'm like, yeah, I do. And he's like, and you're a good salesperson. And the software isn't that good. So we want to make sure that we have a good salesperson to sell it. And so I went to Boston. I interviewed with Dharmesh, who is an amazing person. Dharmesh Shah, right? He's a co-founder of HubSpot. He's been a successful entrepreneur before, right? He is the Dalai Lama of HubSpot. He's got a huge heart. He wrote the HubSpot Culture Code. He's an amazing husband and father, and serves on our board of directors. Wrote just amazing person. I met with him, and I immediately liked him. And then I met with Brian. There was one other employee, Patrick Fitzsimmons, and the business model wasn't exactly the same as HubSpot was when we moved to marketing automation in 2007. So Brian says, "Are you ready to start?" And I'm like, "No." He's like, "Excuse me?" I'm like, "I'm going to decline the opportunity." And Brian is like, "Okay, you just made the biggest mistake of your life. HubSpot's going to be huge. I'm like, I know, but I promised my buddy, Dan, that I would be president of a software company here in Phoenix, so I'm going to decline the opportunity. And I still have the emails from Brian's like, you just made the biggest mistake. He was like super nice about it. Anyway, 6 months later, right, he calls me up. He goes, Dan, we pivoted. I'm like, what the heck does that mean? He goes, we have a new product. And I'm like, okay. He goes, do you need leads for your website? And I'm like, yes, I do. He's like, do you pay for Google Ads? I'm like, yes, I do. He's like, will you like leads without paying Google? And I'm like, yeah, there's not a CEO in America that doesn't want that.
Right.
He's like, okay, that's the new HubSpot. And so I became HubSpot's third customer, right? Insane. It was Dharmesh's wife, a biotech, and in Cambridge, and me, right? And I ran this company, Helm Software, which is in the food service industry. It was amazing and super fun. And like I was HubSpot's third customer. Brian was my salesperson. I'm like, how much does it cost? He's like, $500. I'm like, okay, I'll give you $250. He's like, done. Right. And so I could have gotten a better deal if I had been a little bit more discount oriented. And Dharmesh was my onboarding guy. Right. And it was amazing. We had two contractors in Egypt, I think, and Fawami, and just amazing folks. And I started getting leads. Took a little bit of time of blogging and things, but I started getting leads from my website. Yeah. Anyway, that was in, I think, November of 2026. In 2027, we sold that company. And I pinged Brian. I'm like, can I use your network to get my next gig? He's like, oh, no. You're coming to work for me. And I'm like, okay. And I interviewed again. There was one change. Employee number 3 was Mike Volpe, who's a luminary in marketing, has gone on to be CEO multiple times. Great investor as well. And Mark Roberge. Does that name mean anything to you, Mark Roberge?
Mark Rober, but I'm sure it's not the same person.
No, it's not the same. Mark Roberge, I think he was 26 years old when I reported to him, right? He was the first vice president of HubSpot. A vice president of sales. He went from, took us from zero revenue. When I joined, we had zero revenue except the $200 I was paying.
Yeah, I was going to say you're $200.
Yeah. To $100 million in 7 years. And Mark was the strategist, right? He was the vice president of sales. Amazing. What made him a great vice president of sales is he wasn't a sales guy. He was an engineer. I think he went to Lehigh undergrad. I was the only, this is pretty funny, of the first 10 employees at HubSpot. Everybody had gone to the Sloan School, MIT, like MBA, except me. I was like a Colgate grad, right? So all these guys were like reverse engineering and doing algorithms and stuff like that. I'm like, okay, let's go sell something, right? And it was amazing. The reason I joined is I was at the office and Mark was on the phone and he's like, oh yeah, I'm listening to him, just one side of the conversation. He's yeah, we can do it. Yep. That's the way we work. Yep. No, I can take a credit card right now. And he took a credit card digit over the phone, which I know in 2023 sounds like a scam, but that's the way we did it in 2007. It was amazing. I'm like, okay, I need that skill. So I joined on. I was the first salesperson for HubSpot, which was amazing. I cold called for HubSpot because we didn't have any inbound leads. Don't tell anybody because like cold call, HubSpot is like the anti cold calling brand. I call all my friends and they're like, they'd ask two things. They'd like, is it inbound? What is it? And I'd explain it's like tricking out your website so that you generate more leads through your website. And they go, does it work? And I'm like, oh yeah. And they're like, how do you know? And I'm like, cause I was a customer. Yeah. And they're like, okay. And so, it was amazing. I was in the funnel, what they call it, for the first 11 months and I was the top salesperson every month. Then, I got promoted to a sales manager and, I worked with this brilliant, young woman, Heidi Carlson. And then I got promoted to a sales director and I saw HubSpot grow from 6 people when I joined to, now we have about 8,000, employees. HubSpot sold in 122 countries. Based on our last earnings report, I think the company's $1.7 billion of revenue and traded on the New York Stock Exchange. And the reason I'm still at HubSpot, people just like you in the briefing meeting, they're like, "You're still at HubSpot?" And I'm like, "I love HubSpot. It's an amazing company because everything I learned before I started HubSpot in 2007 went right out the window." Right? Yeah. HubSpot is an amazing company for a variety of different reasons. It's mission driven, just like you said, right? It sweats for the customer, right? Like solves for the customer at every single stage. Amazing people, right? I love all HubSpotters because it's harder to get into HubSpot than Harvard or MIT statistically, right?
Wow.
And I'm never getting into those educational institutions. So I need something to explain why I'm a top 2%er. And HubSpot folks consistently are big-hearted, right? Are culture-oriented, want to help, right? And scaling any company past 8,000 employees is hard. But the other thing is HubSpot's run by women, right? Our CEO is Yamini Rangan, an amazing person, right? A brown woman who runs a $2 billion tech company. You don't see that all the time. Katie Burke. You want to get me started on Katie Burke, our chief people officer, amazing person, thought leader, and has done a lot of things for HubSpot diversity and inclusion. Kate Bucher, who's our CFO, right? Alyssa Dawson, who's our general counsel. All of these folks, right, that are just great business people who are strong, empathetic, and want to help our employees, our partners, our customers. Here's a good story. Am I rambling too much?
You're great, man. This is fun.
Okay. This is a little bit timely because there's a banking meltdown here in the United States, right? Happened last Thursday. There's some interesting stories for me on that. But anyway, over the weekend, the senior management team of HubSpot got together and created a fund for anybody who was impacted by the Silicon Valley banking collapse. Any customer or partner who needed a little help, boom. Like a tech company creating a pool of money so that if people couldn't make payroll, then and they did the same thing in the global pandemic, right? Yamini's like, okay, we got to help our partners. We'll accelerate commissions. And I'm like, oh my goodness, who does that? That's amazing. Yeah. And our mission, do you know HubSpot's mission?
I don't.
We want to help millions of people, teams, leaders, and companies grow better. Hashtag grow better. And I'm like, oh man, that's what I want too. So I'm 16 years in. For the first 14 years, I was a line sales guy, right? Then I did some sales training for our partners, which was the greatest job at HubSpot. Now I work for HubSpot Academy. And do you know HubSpot Academy?
Yeah. Yep.
What do you know about HubSpot Academy?
I mean, anytime I'm like searching for something that's like inbound related, some article will pop up from the Academy.
Yeah. So it started by this guy, Mark Killens, who was just saying, our customers need training. And senior management team is like, well, train them. It's like, well, we have to do it online and it's expensive. They're like, do it. Is it good for the customer? Do it. So he started it like 11 years ago. Now it's run by this dynamo, Courtney Sembler, who you should have on this podcast because she's amazing.
Awesome.
Right. She's a great HubSpot leader, an incredible recruiter, a very nice person. Now, HubSpot has made available 400 classes, lessons, dozens of certifications where anyone, whether you're a HubSpot customer partner or whatever, can go to HubSpot Academy, www.hubspot Academy, and you can take a class on marketing, on sales, on entrepreneurship. My friend Crystal King does soft skills. Amazing. And we give it away all for free. And why do we do that? Why does HubSpot give away 400 classes, lessons, and dozens of certifications at no charge?
I mean, to create raving fans? I don't know.
No, you do know. That's exactly right. Number one, do you like free stuff?
Yeah, absolutely.
Why do you like free stuff, Ryan?
So I can save my money for other stuff.
Exactly. That's a good answer, right? We've done all the research. The reason why you like free stuff is because you secretly think other people are paying for it. And so you get endorphins in your brain, like I'm special, right? But it is a good model. HubSpot has popularized the freemium model.
Yeah.
Where all of our software starts at free, right?
Yep.
Anybody listening to this podcast, just go HubSpot free stuff or free tools. And you'll see like all of this great stuff that we put out in the public domain because number one is exactly what you say. We create raving fans, right? It's kind of interesting because when I walk through airports, it's just happened to me. I did a speaking engagement in Boston last Tuesday, and it was funny because air travel in 2023 is not the way air travel was in 2018. Have you taken a flight lately?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Was it on time?
I don't think we've left on time, but we've actually, I think every flight we've landed on time or early. But leaving has continues to be
amazing. Amazing. For me, I asked the audience, there were 300 financial services folks, who's traveled in the last 6 months? everybody raised their hand. Not just about everybody. I'm like, has anybody been able to get from one location to the next, from point A to point B and then back to point A without any travel delays? And everybody lowered their hand. No one had been able to do that, right? For for an entire audience. And it's because air travel in 2023 is like a hockey game, right? It used to be, we used to queue up and like we'd get on the plane, it would take off and it would land and everything was copacetic. Today, there's fights breaking out in the area. People are pounding on their seats. They're battling with the poor flight attendants. They're like, okay, calm down. We're just trying to get to Boston, right? Amazing, right? And so I got there a little late. Anyway, I was in the airport and I had to get out because it's March in Boston, which means we're expecting 3 feet of snow. And we were expecting 3 feet of snow. And I'm standing there with my HubSpot t-shirt. Can you see this? Yeah. I think it's a patch over here. I'm always branded, right? I love HubSpot. I got 53 HubSpot t-shirts. I'm tied with Dharmesh. He has a few more, but I got a lot. And the guy comes over to me and he starts yelling at me, which I'm kind of a light guy, but this guy, Austin Peel was his name. And he's like, how do you know HubSpot? I'm like, I'm an employee. He's like, how long you been there? I'm like, careful, buddy. You're like, I know I got gray hair, but like maybe a week and a half.
Easy, pal.
Let's not get into that. Right, exactly. He's screaming at me. I love HubSpot. I love HubSpot. The whole terminal. And I'm loud. This guy is like a megaphone. Austin. And I'm like, okay, why do you love HubSpot? He tells me this 7-minute story about how he's interviewing for a job, how he met the folks, and he won't take the job unless they switch to HubSpot. I'm like, okay, that's pretty good. Let's get it on video. So we did a video right there. If you want the video, I can send it to you. But that's my life. I feel like an old Justin Timberlake. I walk through airports and people are like hugging me. They're like, you're Dan Tyre. I'm like, yes. They all think when I go on the road, they all think I invented HubSpot. They all think that I'm like Brian Halligan. I just talked to Brian 2 weeks ago. I'm like, you did all the heavy lifting. I just was along for the ride. You made all the decisions. You recruited all the... Exactly. And that's why I'm the luckiest guy in the world. He's like got to sweat out the details. He's got to hire all these people. He's got to do all the fiduciary kind of stuff. I just talk about it, right? I just get my observation and it's been amazing, right? For 16 years, right? Everybody thinks that like I've been instrumental. And in the early days, I played a small role, hired a lot of people, those kind of stuff. And I am a good startup guy. But now, right, the senior executives at HubSpot that really run the company, amazing. They're all on message. Right? They're all super smart. They all focus on the right stuff, which is the inbound philosophy. In 2018, I don't know if this was in my briefing sheet. In 2018, I wrote a book. Did I tell you about the book that I wrote?
I don't think so.
Okay. In 2018, we're going to go down a book tangent now. Let's talk about 3 books. The first is Human-Centered Communications with Ethan Butte and John Passanelli. Right, which was amazing. And they asked me to do that. The second book is the one I wrote with Todd Hockenberry called Inbound Organization. It came out on Wiley in 2018. It's available on Amazon. I got a copy right over there. An amazing book because in the early days when HubSpot was popularizing inbound marketing, right? It was tricking out your website so that there was lots of content so that you get found by search engines so you can convert to a lead so that you could call people up and you could say, hey, Ryan, I saw that you were on the website. And you'd say, oh, yeah, I was on the HubSpot website. I was looking at a blog. It quickly became sales and marketing together. Because 90% of most salespeople's motion is to connect to the right person at the right time. That prospecting stuff is hard and agonizing if you're like cold calling. Now in 2023, we don't cold call, we warm call. But anyway, in the early stages, I would call people and they're like, oh yeah, I remember being on the website. And I'm sitting with Mike Volpe. I'm like, that's awesome. And so I invented a term called schmarketing. Have you ever heard of schmarketing?
I didn't know it was pronounced like that. Schmarketing.
I know that no one does. Schmarketing, like a bagel with a schmear. You got to say it with the back of your throat. Schmarketing. I invented that term, and the reason I did is because I was getting drunk with Mike at the CIC, One Cambridge Center, which was where HubSpot was headquartered for the first year, and we just started getting inbound leads, and I was the guy who was on the phone calling people. right? And I'm like, they actually want to talk with me. They're like, yeah, what is inbound? They're asking. And so, and Mike is like, yeah, that's why we invented the company, right? We want to do that for everybody. And I'm like, it's amazing. Has more to do with sales, right? Because it increases our productivity than marketing. It's sales and I'm like, get me more of those leads. He goes, I can't. I'm like, why? He's like, I need to hire somebody to create content. I'm like, well, hire him. He goes, I have no headcount. I'm like, well, I'll give you sales headcount. And he stopped. He looked at me. He go, you would give me sales headcount for marketing. I'm like, it's not sales. It's not marketing. It's schmarketing. Right. And then Professor Thomas Steenberg at Harvard Business School heard that term and popularized it in a case study in 2007. Anyway, it's easy for me to say that because it wasn't my headcount. It belonged to Robert's, right? I was just being like, I need more leads into it, but it was the basis for the first inbound revolution. And there's been multiple, right? So the inbound marketing thing and then the inbound sales. Now HubSpot software is really inbound front office, right? We have this thing called Allbound, which is both outbound as well as inbound. Right. But it follows these characteristics that I write about in the book. And the first is the leadership principles of inbound is number one, treat people like human beings. And how do you feel about that principle? Is that a good principle?
That's a great principle.
Do you have to remind people in 2023 to treat people like human beings?
Apparently, sometimes, yeah.
All the time, right? Just take a look at my Twitter feed. If you ever want to see what like a 2022 collaboration is, all these people know no filter reference, just blaming, shaming, judging, criticizing, canceling, shading, all of this crazy stuff. Like we never used to do that, right? And like treating people like human beings is like asking them questions periodically and making sure you're not sending them spam email and like actually doing a little research before you jump on a podcast, something like that, right? And so it's a good reminder for everybody. Always treat people like human beings. Number two, which is foundational for the inbound organization, you help before you sell, right? And you mentioned that in the briefing meeting. You're like, no, I like HubSpot because they're willing to help us well. And that, it turns out, the freemium model, all of your listeners, make sure you have something free that you can give away because people love free stuff. I've never met somebody who said, no, I don't like free stuff, right? So at the end of my presentations and at the end of this podcast, I'll give away some free stuff. That's all right with you.
All right,
I didn't check that beforehand.
Absolutely.
I know. That's what everybody says. It's universal, right? Number three, you got to solve for the customer, right? And that's everybody says that. But solving for the customer, right? When we do our consulting, Todd and I, for the inbound organization, we talk to the CEO. We're like, okay, like how easy it is to do business with you. He goes, oh, it's super simple. I'm like, let's check. And I bring out a phone. Remember phones, right?
Yeah,
like
the things you text with, right?
Thing where,
it's like
exactly. No, like this is a handset, right? And like CEOs sometimes have this on their desk, and I put it in the middle. I mean, if you're 23, you have no idea what we're talking about, but like put it on the desk. I'm like, let's call your front desk and let's see how easy it is to like get a customer service person or get a customer a salesperson. And they're like, no. I'm like, no, we got to do it.
Got him.
And they're like, no. We talk about phone tree. Do you know what a phone tree is? It's a friggin' crunch pit. It doesn't matter, right?
Yeah.
If you get into a phone tree in 2023, in 7 seconds, I'm already ticked off, right? I'm already going, okay, I've had it with this, right? And so solving for the customer means, right, you have to have a tech stack so that this is an interesting phenomenon in 2023, right? Are you familiar with the term ghosting, where people will be very active on your website, very interested in understanding your niche, and then they don't do anything for 6 months?
Yeah.
And that's a real thing. It's a recent phenomenon because in the old days, you decided you were going to do something, you raised the budget, and you just followed a linear process. Today, there's so much stuff going on. You get all excited. You see a TikTok about Tyre speaking in front of 300 financial advisors. Like, I got to hire this guy. You go to my website, you review all this stuff. Next thing you know, you moved on to the next thing. Except when your boss says, okay, we need a public speaker, right? Then you're like, who's that guy? The guy with the gray hair wearing the HubSpot stuff? Oh, yeah, Dan Tyre. Then you re-engage. If I don't know that you had come back earlier, if I don't have that information of lead intelligence and lead notifications, right? When I contact you, if I know, I'm like, wait a second, Ryan, you spent like an hour on my website in April of, or March of 2023. all of a sudden in your brain, you're like, okay, this guy knows what's going on. All of a sudden the relationship starts and moves to a different level. So that is an amazing component of like making sure that you're solving for the customer at every stage. The fourth one, and I'm so excited to hear you say in our pre-meeting today. What did you tell me in the pre-meeting about how you changed your focus, right, from what you used to do to what you do today?
Yes. So for 18 years being in the business, 11 years being really focused on brand films for just any business, any vertical. We finally landed and said, hey, you know what? Maybe what would it look like if we just picked one vertical? Not that we can't do brand films for other industries, but if we zeroed in on one, what a difference it could make.
So the next component is the riches are in the niches.
Oh yeah,
or
baby.
if you're speaking London, you got to say, if you want to go to the beaches, you've got to work the niches, because that's how they pronounce it, right? But super smart. And why did you do that, Ryan? Why did you make that pivot from being a generalist to a specialist?
I would have argued, and I said, well, we are a specialist. Like we specialize in these brand films. But even in the last 2 weeks, as the conversations I've had with individuals, I said, hey, we just completed this sport documentary. We worked with this coach at a local university who had a direct impact on my life. And we finished the piece, and I just said, what would it look like if this was our target? What if we created more pieces like this? And as I've had conversations with a half dozen people, all of those people have said, I've got somebody I could introduce you to. I know somebody who's connected to other people that could use this. I just got off a phone call literally right before our time together, and 2 people on that call, and both said, oh, if that's the kind of stuff you want to do, we know who we can introduce you to. Never before has it been so easy for me to say, here's exactly not just what we do, but who we do it for. And now it's ringing people's ears, and they're able to take that and think of a person, not just an institution. So I think it's going to work.
Oh no, it's going to work. Right. It's, first of all, great strategy. It's hard because as an entrepreneur, I know you can help people. You want to help people. And you entrepreneurs are so shamelessly positive and enthusiastic that you're like, but Dan, I can. And in 2023, it's all about time to value. So what I just heard you say is you niched because you do great work for education. Well, you told me the story of the legacy basketball coach. Everybody should hear that story. Oh my goodness. And that fulfilled your soul. You do really good work there. You can actually grow quicker in 2023 if you have a smaller focus, a niche focus. You're like, no. I only work with educational institutions, right, that are looking to use video to promote this level of kind of thing. And like you talk like a person who understands it, because you do. You have the vocabulary, you have the relationships, you have the understanding, and let all those other people like get a race to the bottom. All the video, what you do is this particular thing. And in 2023, if you have a stomach ache, you don't want a doctor, you want a gastroenterologist. You want somebody who can go right in and fix your problem. And you'll actually grow quicker. All the studies that say, and number 5 reason why inbound organization works is we strongly recommend that you already did it. You didn't do that before you talked to me. You went and you found your niche, and you're going to grow like a pot plant under a grow light. Right? It's just going to boom. All of a sudden, you'll grow very, very, maybe that's a bad analogy in the education, vertical, but it's going to go quick because people are going to know you're an education guy. All right. The other thing is that you touched on it. We call it the HubSpot. There's one other thing. You got to study the data, right? Your tech stack helps you study the data, right? In 2023, like when I started my business career in 1980, we did gut feel. Like, I think this is what we should do. Yeah. Right? Now, you still have to trust your gut. The beautiful Amy Tyre, who is my wife, and you should have her on this podcast as well. Right? Spiritual, thoughtful, very exciting, just a smart person. Right? She's always telling people to trust their gut, but not in business decisions. Right? In business decisions, you want to get all the data. You can still trust your gut, but get all the data. Right? And gathering that data is a competitive advantage. The final thing is what we call the HubSpot Flywheel. Have you ever heard of the HubSpot Flywheel?
I have. That's as far as I can go with it.
All right, but okay, that's fine because you just described it. That is, your customers are more important for new business than your sales team, right? Because in 2023, we want that time to value, we want immediate validation. When one of the 1,000 HubSpot salespeople calls you, they have a vested interest, right? When one of our Hub fans, by the way, also Christina Garnett, who runs our Hub fan program, amazing marketing person, amazing advocate, and Evan Hamilton, you should have him on this podcast as well. He's responsible for our community. Amazing person. They're always thinking, how can we help our customers better understand what a good fit is? And the flywheel, at the center of the flywheel is your customers. And so now when you're out there getting more education video prospects, right? You want to have good references. You want to have good videos of people who have done the work. You want to have your customers refer you. And here's one of Tyre's tips. I never thought of it like that. Tyre's tips. I'm a big believer in, I'm going to trademark that. Tyre's tips.
You should. Yeah.
I should. It's a little bit of alliteration. I can't believe I'm 64 years old and I'm just thinking of Tyre's tips. Oh my goodness. See what happens on this podcast? I knew this was going to happen. Right?
The light bulbs. That's amazing.
Exactly. Yeah. The light bulbs just go on. Maybe we can have that in the video. You can have a little light bulb go on over my head.
Yeah.
Just Photoshop it or something. Anyway, I always suggest to people to pick up the phone and call. Right. And as my wife has grown her transformational coaching business, and as I have helped hundreds, maybe even thousands of companies scale, you pick up the phone and you call your customers. Right. And I started this about 8 years ago because people send us money all the time. And my ability to pick up the phone and say, Ryan, I wanted to thank you for being a HubSpot customer. Has anybody ever done that? Has anybody ever called you and thanked you for being a customer?
Probably. Not.
Okay, I mean, that's good.
Maybe like once or twice, but I can't even name who it was.
Very rare. I should call you now and thank you for being a HubSpot customer because I know I should have done it before this podcast if I was thinking ahead. But right, it's amazing, right? Because you're like, excuse me, and this is the talk track. Ryan, you've been a customer for HubSpot for 6 years, right? And we appreciate your business. Number one, this is my cell phone. If there's anything I could do, you let me know. And people are like, all right, Dan. And I'm like, is there anything I could do to be a better partner, a better tech partner to help you learn the tech? And they're like, no, I think we're good. And I'm like, okay, I want to be a partner for the next 6 years. You send us money every month. So here's my cell phone. You get a curveball thrown at you if there's a hairball you're trying to deal with and you think I can help you, just text me or call me. And they're like, all right, Tyre, that's pretty good, right? And, oh, by the way, do you know anybody else who may benefit from a product like this? And my famous line, Tyre's tips, number 3, is just let me make it easy for you. Let me just send you my scheduling link. Let me send you a brief overview. You just forward it to anybody. You copy me. I'll do everything else. All I need is 10 seconds of your time. If you can find one other person. And that's how you're going to grow your education video business, right? Because you're going to thank your customers, right? That company that hired you to do the coach thing, that's amazing. Everybody needs to hear that story, right? You need to do your own podcast. Right? You need to interview yourself on your own podcast just about that friggin' thing. It'd be a little weird, but asking your questions and answering the questions.
That's right.
But, and then you're going to thank them, call them special. There's probably 5 people you can call there because they funded it and they did it. And then you're like, hey, do you know anybody else that should be honored like this or any, and they'll be like, let me tee you up, Ryan. And because you niched and because you're an expert in this area and because, you're using the HubSpot Flywheel, picking up the phone, you'll have as much business as you need.
Dude, that is amazing.
All right, son of a gun, we're at minute 49. Oh, we started a little late. Okay, I knew that was going to happen.
So much goodness. I want to know before we go, your video, you own a video production studio, right? It's maybe you're by yourself, maybe you got an employee. Inbound marketing, it might be a new-ish term. What should someone do as they look at their website, as they look at how they are, going to market with who they are? Any like best practices or things that they should, even as they self-audit, what could their website have in in more specifics, like, man, if you're gonna serve them, help them, offer a resource or anything, give us some ideas of what that could look like.
Yeah, the number one thing that I see on websites is people asking to get married on the first date. So they have book a demo right up top. And I just come to your website. I want to book a demo. I want to understand whether you work with world-class speakers that live in Arizona or you work with educational organizations. And if you have a freemium education video Hall of Fame or checklist for education video kind of thing right at the top where I can click it and give you my email, right? Now, all of a sudden, we're building trust. You gave me something free, and I like you more than I liked you before. Programmatically, HubSpot has a free tool. Imagine that, called websitegrader.com. Just go to www.websitegrader.com, run your website through the website grader. It'll show you 16 or 18 things that you can improve to get better visibility for lead generation. Even if you want to take the next step, you can go to Growth Grader, www.growthgrader.com, also HubSpot property, which will show you a little bit more in depth of how to generate more high quality leads. And they're all free tools from HubSpot to help.
I love it. Yeah, and we've also shared, and I know there's a good handful of people in our community who have used the free CRM tool, right? That's like one of the things that changed my life. Probably I started my business 18 years ago. I didn't really start using a formal CRM software until, 3 or 4 years into business. But using a CRM tool changed everything. Instead of like trying to keep everything up in my brain or write terrible things that I could not read or try to keep track of things in a spreadsheet, when I started using a CRM, it changed the game. And the fact that HubSpot has a free one, great opportunity to like dip your toe in the water and say like, oh, I could see how this could be helpful. Love that too. Dan, this has been so good. I love your story.
Hold on.
Oh,
hold on. I got to interrupt. Didn't we promise 3 free things?
Yeah. I mean, right? What are you holding back for?
Number one, I just want to make sure that we've got integrity with purpose, right? And when we set out, we're like, okay, we're going to give you some free stuff at the end. There might be people, first of all, no one's listening to this podcast at double speed, right? My kid is right. Like, Eli's like, okay, Dad, you're the only guy I know that I can't listen to YouTube's double time.
There's 2 of us.
I know, sounds like Alan and the Chipmunk, right? Number one, we mentioned HubSpot Academy. 400 courses can help lots of folks. If you have salespeople, marketing people, entrepreneurs, get them to HubSpot Academy, free tool. Number 2, the HubSpot CRM. Thank you very much for mentioning that. Always been free, always will free. Yeah. Right? There are also the HubSpot sales free, marketing free, ops free, service free. So all of our software. Now, if you want to do more advanced kind of stuff and running a business, you got to move to a starter, which is a paid product. Right. But we want to, because we have $1 billion on a balance sheet, we want to offer entrepreneurs, right, the ability to test it out, to build that trust, to understand how it works. And now in 2023, it's all about the front office software. The incredible competitive advantage is when all of the software looks the same. HubSpot looks like a video game, right? Yeah. I was just Libby Moyer, who you should also have on this podcast. She's the UX person. Oh my goodness, she's amazing. I'm like, okay, when I started HubSpot, it was ugly, right? It was this looks like AOL in 1970, right? And now it looks like a video game. You can figure out anything, and it's all Libby and her team. Amazing. Right? The front office, same UI, ability to do everything. There's a support right in the software, so it's easy to chat with a support rep. Amazing. Yeah. And one other thing, I'm an overachiever, so I want to give. Yeah. Okay. Just Google HubSpot free tools. You'll see 16 different things, including Website Grader and Growth Grader. And then The Hustle. Have you ever heard of a media property by the name of The Hustle?
No.
Okay. It's a HubSpot property, right? And it's entrepreneur email, comes out every day. And it is so well written. And it's kind of quirky and weird. And it's available to anybody. You just sign up. Right. And it's a great way for people to learn about business, work about different aspects of business, video, all kinds of great stuff.
Love it. And I will second, like, at the very, very least, all the tools that I've used at HubSpot are amazing. The CRM is it's a high quality tool for the free version. And if you start using it and you're like, yeah, I could see how I can use this. Yeah. Upgrade, it will change the way, it will change your confidence in how you're managing, prospects, past lead, just all of the things. So
look at you, Ryan. You're a human flywheel. I love it. Yeah.
I mean, you guys have done a great job. So you've definitely created a fan, and it's had it has had an impact. I remember when I first launched our corporate brand, and we were diving into all of the HubSpot, just every article and all of the things, and we gave away a free video to a nonprofit, and it was very fulfilling to do that. But also, I feel like we were strategic in how we approached it because of the things that we had learned from HubSpot. So kudos to you. Thank you so much for just all the work that you're doing, man. I love your energy. And people should go to your website. You are doing some outside of HubSpot. You're doing some really life-changing things and giving back. When I first went to your website, I was like, this is a guy that I want to be like. I mean, you are just doing some incredible things. So really,
That's
thank you.
what everybody says. I was speaking in Boston at this program. They're like, when we grow up, we want to be you. Yeah. I'm like, care for what you wish for, right? But I'll tell you, I have great lean into my relationships, which Warren Buffett says is the most important thing. I love helping people, which everybody's like, oh, that's amazing. I wish I could do that. And you can, right? Everybody can smile at somebody. They can offer freemium of your service. You can listen to this podcast. You can help my buddy Ryan by promoting it. Right, which we're going to do, see if we can make this thing go viral. And that's what turns the world around, right? Let's go get all the good people on this side who want to help, not blame, not criticize, judge. Let's just go do good things for the community and our fellow man, right? And everything will turn out okay.
Yeah, love it. And they can find you at Dan Tyre, TYRE.com. Is that right?
TYRE. You can go to my website. You can find me on LinkedIn, Dan Tyre, executive at HubSpot. You can go, it's DTyre1 Instagram if you want to see pictures of my food. Dan Tyre, at Dan Tyre on Twitter if you want to see a madhouse of people who are very opinionated. And I am all in to help. Any way I can help to the extent of my bandwidth, I'm in and happy to do it.
Awesome. Appreciate you so much. Thank you, Dan. All right, my friend, I hope you enjoyed that episode. If you want access to the links or anything that we talked about, you can go to studiosherpas.com/333, and all the info and the deets are there. If you enjoyed this video, if you have comment, if you have feedback, if there's something that you're taking away from this episode, then I would love for you to leave a comment if you're watching the video on YouTube or Facebook, or shoot me an email. You can email me at ryan@studiosherpas.com. If you really like this episode, please share it with a friend. Take a screen grab, text it. That'd be cool. I am grateful for you, and I'm excited for the growth of your business. I hope there were some nuggets in here, but I want to remind you, you are not alone in this business. It can be very hard. It can feel like that. But there are a lot more people like me that want you to succeed, and I'm rooting for you. If there's anything I can do to help you, to serve you, to help you succeed, please don't hesitate to reach out. Otherwise, till next time, see you on next week's episode or something like that. Talk to you later. See you. Bye.